Welcome to the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. This is the podcast for dairy owners, managers, and their trusted advisors who are seeking their next level of performance, success, and resilience in the dairy farming business. I'm your host, Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to bring you the voices and share with you the stories of thought leaders that will help you to take your operation, your teams, and most importantly, yourself to the next level of business, leadership, management, and life. A career as a dairy manager is not an easy one. The hours are long and curveballs can come your way every single day. It takes a resilient mindset to lead both yourself and the team of people who look to you as a leader. And that's why I've invited Scott Blevins to be our guest today on the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. He's the Dairy and Heifer Director at Wiese Bros Farms in Greenleaf, Wisconsin. And we are going to talk beyond the skill set of managing 6,500 cows and 6,600 head of youngstock, not to mention a team of employees. We are going to be talking about your mindset and the resilience that it takes to thrive in this role. So welcome, Scott, to the Up-Level Dairy Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Peggy.
So, Scott, you and I have worked together on several projects over the years. And, I know you have expertise in so many areas of dairy management. But the reason that I asked you to speak on this subject today is because there's always something that I walk away from working with you with. And that is an admiration for your resilience. You have this ability to always overcome obstacles. You have this sense of urgency in solving problems. And like I said, it's this inspiration of resilience that I get when I spent time with you working on various projects. And so my hope is that for you out listening today, that as we invite you to sit with Scott and I and chat, that whether you are a dairy manager yourself or even just a mom like me, that there's something that you can take away from our conversation that will inspire you to up-level yourself based on what Scott has to share. And so this episode is sponsored by Armor Animal Health, your trusted vet, sales, and laboratory partner, supplying you with core livestock products and solutions that will help you reach your farm's goals. One of the first questions I have for you is, you've been in this role here with Wiese Brothers for a long time. As you said, you've been in the dairy business for a long time in these intense environments. But in order to lead other people, we have to lead ourselves first, right?
Right.
And so when you wake up in the morning and you know that you have to be resilient, you have to be a leader of yourself and your team every single day, what's your morning routine like? Like, what are the habits you've built into your system so that you have the energy and endurance to do this tough job every single day?
Well, people might think I'm a little crazy, but I get up pretty early in the mornings and I start my day at the gym. I think it's my peace of mind gets me ready for the day, sets the tone. If I wake up from a very stressful day from the day before, it takes the edge off. And I promise my staff appreciates that so much. And it helps me make clear-minded decisions and be on top of the game for the day, and in this business, you got to have a clear mind all the time because you're always making decisions that have some big financial impacts.
Yeah.
People.
So you start out your day with a good workout, not just because it's good for your body and maintaining your health, but as you said, to get your head in the right space to go after the day and to be able to kind of sometimes have that stress relief, right? And the guys and girls around here appreciate that too.
They do. And I think, staying physically fit helps the mental state.
Yeah.
When you're in a job, there's a number of them out there that takes on a lot of stress at different levels. How you handle that, being in a physical state and mental state gets me to make the right decisions and pulls me through it. Because we we deal with a lot of crisis at times.
Right. You're kind of always in some sort of crisis mode, right?
Correct.
I mean, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with animals, sometimes it's maybe, animal health concerns that come up. It's Mother Nature throwing you curveballs.
Right.
And so, coming into the day with that sharpness mentally and the physical stamina to get through it. And speaking more about that mentality, that mental, side of it piece, keeping a positive mindset is something that can be easy when life is easy, right? When things are clicking here at the dairy, when everybody's showing up for work, when the weather is perfect. But it's even more important to have that strong mental attitude when things get tough. Right? And so let's talk about mental toughness. What are the things that you do to stay mentally tough every single day?
So yes, you're right. Everyone's happy and everyone's part of the game when you're winning. When you're losing, it's a pretty lonely job. And I think that anyone's good when things are good. It's how good you are when things are tough. That's really where I think makes you stand out as a leader and as a person that is based on results, and you're driven by that. I think that is a very good way to look at it, and it's the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah. And as you said, when things aren't good, that's when you really have to dig a little bit deeper, right? And so, I've talked with a lot of people in this industry over the years, and oftentimes they'll say the same thing, that there's new challenges every single day. And that just when you think you've got it all figured out and things are clicking along, the cows are doing great, people are doing great, some of those external pressures are off, are relieved, then something comes up. Something's going to come up, pull the rug out from under you and bring it down to your knees. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Has that happened to you?
Oh, yes. And sometimes when we're talking like this, I don't want to sound like I think I know it all, because we don't. Anytime that you get overconfident, it will humble you. And when you think you got things rolling and things are clicking, you better stay on your game. If you let up a little bit, then you get hammered. So, I think that this business is a true business that even the best of the best will encounter things that will definitely humble them, to say the least.
Yeah. Any experiences you'd like to share where you've been humbled?
Well, I think like we talked about crisis, if it's not the animals, it's the people. And if it's not either one of them, you might be dealing with a feed issue. So from milk quality to, having health issues, to not having people, to employee shortages, to all the above. So yes, a lot of days that I would say in the trenches, in the war zone, that type of thing.
Yeah. And Scott, one thing I have heard you say in conversations before is to know your opponent, is to know what you're fighting. And we could even take the milk quality example for one. Mm-hmm. And I've heard you talk about, okay, if we're going to be fighting this battle, you want to know who you're fighting against and then have a plan in place for going into battle. And could you maybe share a little bit of how, just even on the milk quality side, you bring that mentality into that game?
Right. I think that when you approach things and you look at even problems that you can expect to have periodically, or the unexpected problems, I think the word I always use, I learned it from who I work for now and for my dad, is we call it a sense of emergency. And we go to things that don't seem like a big deal today, but we treat it like we're putting the fire out. And that keeps us from having those train wrecks. And you're always putting those little fires out. So to come to a place like this and not carry that sense of emergency, to me, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
You have to have that, and everybody does it different ways. Everyone has ways that works for them. But for me, I want to treat every little problem like it's a big problem. So it doesn't lead to things that cost us in the long run in the bigger picture.
Yeah. And even, kind of going back to that milk quality example, right? I mean, share with us, what have you invested in for resources here right at the dairy so that you can know exactly what you're fighting when it comes to milk quality?
Yeah, so we have a microbiology lab that it's the forefront of the dairy. It protects us. It looks at everything from what's in the bedding, which is causing the organisms, which contains the organisms that causes mastitis. So we use that to identify things, and it does lead us and influence us on how we handle that specific case.
Yeah. And so here again, what you just called out is knowing your opponent and then reacting with that urgency.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're in a game or a situation where it's built, and we say this a lot, we're built on results, and that's kind of measures our success is where we get those results and how we get there. I think that you definitely have to know the battles and who your opponent is. I think that's very important.
Yeah. And I'll step back for a minute and go back to that coaching background and that natural coaching instinct that you have. Yeah. And some of these things that I'm hearing you say, just call that out exactly, right? You have talked about staying on your game, having that winning attitude and being results driven, because that's what success is measured on. You've talked about knowing your opponent, responding with urgency and that sense of emergency. I mean, this is what you bring to your role. And this is how you get through challenging times here at the dairy, right?
Right. And surrounding yourself with a good support team. Also we should talk about the other entity of the company is the farming side, and they help us manage we have the crew that helps with the bedding and maintain the separators, and all of that comes into play when, none of it is as impactful as a clean, dry tea working with a properly working unit. That's probably, if you had a pie, that's going to take most of that pie. And then the other pieces are so important, even though they're not as impactful as that when it comes to milk quality, but all of that goes together to be successful. Yeah. So you have to have everybody working together, and that's the key.
Yeah. So the core fundamentals of what does it take from a task-oriented standpoint to achieve something like milk quality.
Yes.
But then you're taking that bigger step back and looking at, what's the atmosphere and the environment that you create here as a manager to get everybody on board and help go after those goals and want to reach them as a team.
Yes, right. And we have measures that we take when we're under the gun. One thing that we monitor from when we talk about milk quality is, we look at cell counts every day. Cell counts are either going up or down, and when they're going up, you react. And we have things in place no different than when 911 gets called and the steps that are taken to resolve that emergency. We have that similar type of take on how we handle things here.
Yeah. And speaking of that, speaking of urgency and the sense of emergency, Scott, if there's one thing I know about you, it's that you have one speed, and it is 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So you bring that into everything that you do. I mean, this is a 24/7 nonstop business for one, but that's kind of part of who you are as a person is just, really having that drive to be high performing in your career and high performing in all areas of life. But, I think there's going to be other folks out there that are listening to this podcast. And again, maybe they're dairy managers like you. Maybe they're just moms like me that can relate to the struggle sometimes to balance wanting to give so much to your career and the role you have here, but also balancing that out with family and with life outside of the dairy. So speak to that for a moment as a 100 miles an hour guy, how you find some sort of way to do both.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know that I was too good at that earlier in life, but when you take on a new system that needs protocols put in place and needs people developed and put in place. But I think one thing that allows you to do that is you work hard and you put a lot of energy into your people, and be there with them when something goes wrong and they can handle that situation, but it's a training process. And you can either put that time in on the front end, or you can be pulled away constantly from your personal life, your home life, your family, because when it comes to this business that's 24/7, you are married to it. There's no other way. If you only do it when you're here and then you go home and forget about it, that doesn't work because we never shut down. And I think that balance is put your mindset on your people to handle things, not assuming that they're doing it like you want it done, but making sure they're doing it like you want it done. And then I think that allows you that peace of mind and be with your family, and it cuts down on those night calls by 100%.
Yeah. And nobody wants to get those.
And if you don't, in the beginning, when those night calls come in, you're there with every calf pull, every breaker that needs flipped, every employee that needs to be dealt with, every cow that has a certain situation that she needs help with. You got to go through that with your people, and you build that around them, that time. And just like for us, I have a night manager, he's been with us for 14 and a half years, and he's so valuable to us. And I tell all of the day management, you need to thank him, take him out for a steak dinner, because he makes your life much easier, because you can go home and then enjoy and be at peace, that when you come back the next day, it's going to be clicking. Yeah. He leaves it in good shape. We have a couple of guys at night that actually have been with us a number of years, and we highly depend on them. But I would say that would be in an industry like ours. The key thing is put that time in to those people that's going to be running this place at night, and support them to the end.
Yeah. So just to recap what I'm hearing from you, Scott, when it comes to really getting things to click so that you can have some peace of mind when you go home at the end of the day, investing time in your people on the front end and helping to make sure that they're well taken care of, well trained, things are able to be executed without you being there. But then to really, have some good relationships with some of the key people that are going to make your life easier and allow you the ability to go home at night and know that things are okay here when you're with your family.
Yeah, and you have to be able to run that, because you can't be here, 24/7. I mean, we're available 24/7, and the only way that it can run at that level all the time is the time and energy you're going to put into people. If you don't invest that time in them, it's like I tell my guys every single day, how much you put into certain, maybe it's a person that they're training, maybe it's a new program that we're putting in, a new protocol. But if you don't put nothing in, don't expect nothing out of it. If you put a lot into it, then there's going to be results if you try hard enough. I mean, and put, and really sink your teeth into it and believe, and that's a philosophy that goes with programs and people.
Yeah.
So if you don't put much into those people, don't expect much. So you're going to be running around with your head cut off in a place like this.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just outlined a lot of great tips for anyone who's managing people, whether it's on a dairy or somewhere else. Heck, I mean, this is stuff you can apply to our own families at home, right? But for just a moment, maybe speak directly again to the other people out there, the guys and the gals that are dairy managers, that are you 15 years ago. What's the one thing you wish someone would have told you 17 years ago, I guess, when you started
I
this
think,
career?
that's a good question. I would probably Just be more patient, I think, with people. Give it some time. I'm not a very patient person. God didn't give me that trait. I wish he would have, but he didn't. And I work hard at that now, a lot harder than I did before. And I think not being patient with people cost me some mistakes that I made through the years. So definitely working on that.
Yeah.
So I have a right-hand man, the assistant manager here, and he's very patient. So we feed off of that. So he offsets my bad traits. So.
And that plays into a quote I was just reading earlier this morning, talking about what makes a good leader. And a good leader doesn't necessarily have to be one person that's good at everything.
Right.
It's someone who's good at identifying where their weaknesses are and then bringing someone on the team. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done.
Yeah. And I think that the key thing is, too, on that, just to back that up, you got to recognize people and their abilities and the capacity that they have. If you put someone in a position that they're not capable of doing, just based on their capacity, then you just set that person up for failure. It's going to frustrate them and it's going to frustrate you. And as a manager, leader, coach, I think the number one things that you need to possess is being able to recognize the people and their abilities and where they can excel the best in what area and at what level. Whether some can run a place like this, some just are rock stars in the parlor milking cows.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes back to what you were saying before about investing time and energy into people. But part of that is really identifying what are their greatest strengths, where are they the best fit on the team here. And that probably helps with retaining good employees.
Right. And, and that goes back to the same thing, retaining employees and giving you a life beyond the dairy.
Yeah.
You have to have that team of people. We've had guys go on to run their own dairies, and we got some now that are capable of doing that and capable of possibly even more. They're unlimited, their capabilities and potential. And you want people like that around you. So.
Yeah. And you found the ways to identify and empower those individuals. And Scott, this, again, you've been up to this career for a long time, and there have been challenges that come at you every single day. But I know one thing about you is that you're a man who's strong in his faith.
Yes.
So take a moment, share with us, what role does your faith have in you showing up here at Wiese Brothers every day as a manager and a leader?
So we will thank God that he sacrificed his son so we could ask for forgiveness, because I've asked many, many times for forgiveness. Made a lot of mistakes in life. But I grew up in Oklahoma. My mom and dad raised me in Church of Christ in Oklahoma. It's a little different denomination than you would find in the Midwest here. But it's more like a Baptist, Southern type thing. And then so we grew up very strong, very involved in the dairy. I mean, not the dairy, in the church. And, and that carried over to, in my life. And I think that without having God in your life, that'd be a tough life to live. And for me, with all the things that I've been through this life, if I could go in reverse, I'd change a lot of things, but you can't do that. We got to look forward. But as you move forward through this life, which is a short life, I think that's extremely important to have that spiritual health, and it guides you through life, and it makes you mentally stable. And I think that without that, it would be very tough.
Yeah. So that's a key to resilience.
Right.
Yeah.
And people that go through this life without that is very confusing to me. People make their own decisions, and, I'm not here to tell them right, wrong, or indifferent. But for me, to have that peace of mind with all the things in this life, the longer that we live, the more stuff we have to deal with. And not all of it is good. And that strength, that spiritual strength that you get, I think is everything.
Yeah.
How you live and where you end up at the end of it. Again, when you're in a job that requires a lot of you and a lot of your mind and a lot of the physical side of things, and it wears on you, that's probably my, biggest inner strength that I have.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Scott.
Sure.
Those words of faith, I think, are something we can all draw a little bit from, no matter what challenges we're facing in our roles in life.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges, you're a person that's always challenging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably the longest. It's 28 minutes, the longest you sat in chair all day today.
Mm-hmm.
But share with us a little bit too. How do you keep yourself sharp? Like, what's kind of your what's next? What are the things that you are always trying to learn more and strive more to be better at right now?
Well, I think just we talked a lot about character, leadership, all of those things, continue to work on the things I need to work on to be a better person, which in turn helps with how you come across to your people. Working on the being better at what we do here. We are consistent on our routines, and sometimes you have to check yourself because it's the same thing every day. How we feed, how we check fresh cows, how we move cows, how we the parlors run on schedule. We have 3 shifts. We don't alter off of that schedule, and everything is related to that schedule and how it works throughout the day, so it never changes. We have different things that we do, chores that we do during the week on Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays and Fridays, but every day those certain things that we do are the same every day. So that gets challenging, but being able to just keep growing and learning from people and things like this that you put together. And I've learned some things by listening to some of the people that you've had on here. And I have also worked into developing some products that help dairymen and ranchers, and that's been fun, but again, my focus is here. And those type of things keep your mind moving and thinking and working on things that make you better as a person, because in the end that spills over to your job.
That's right. And any other last thoughts on this topic of a resilient mindset that you would offer to share with others?
I think like when we talk, I think principles are something that we live and die by. And I think for me, as number one, you work hard, and number 2 is respect. But respect is respect to yourself, respect your peers, and respect management and the animals. Also is very important. Respect the animals, and so respect covers a lot of things. Yeah. And it also want to say under respect, we respect the facility. Keep a tidy place, clean. That everybody takes from that. That cleanliness when you walk in and the feel of it comes across in a good way for me. So that's very important. That's part of respect. And then, the other thing is we abide by rules. People don't like rules, and we didn't when we were little, and we don't like them when we get older, but we have them. So, and those rules are put in place, and we make sure people understand those rules. And there's a series of reprimand that we take with people that don't follow rules, and hopefully we can help them get through those times. But that's part of managing people.
Yeah.
And then one other thing, the last thing I would say is I really instill this into employees. I want them to take responsibility. You make a mistake, it's okay, but you take it. And you own it, and then we learn from it. And that's another principle that I drive real go hard with all of our people. Take responsibility. If you tear something up, take the responsibility. If you make a mistake and it costs us, maybe it's just a simple thing that you make, but it costs us money, costs the company money, just that you understand it, own it, and we move on. So responsibility is a big one. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to just recap that for a moment because you said some really powerful things there, Scott. And what I'm hearing from you are the things that are values and principles that you're living out in your daily life that are now really a part of the culture at the dairy here. Mm-hmm. And you talked about the work hard mentality, about having respect, not just for each other, for ourselves, the facility, mm-hmm. the animals, having rules in place, clear expectations, mm-hmm. and a course of reprimandation for those rules. And then also about just taking responsibility and owning up when mistakes happen. Right. And that's, again, these all fall into that resilient mindset that we're talking about today that you bring forth here at Wiese Brothers.
Yes, and that last one, when just remember, we expect those mistakes, but and sometimes turnover. We talk about turnover. We don't like it, but sometimes you need it. I mean, sometimes there's a point in time where that mentality. I don't want to have any employees leave. That ends up costing you money. So, but you don't want it. And when people make mistakes, which are expected, you don't crucify them. Help them learn from it, and then hopefully they do learn from it. And then if they don't learn from it, then you deal with it.
Yeah. But you give everybody that opportunity,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we make sure that those people are in those. When you're dealing with, I don't care in any level, from sports to corporations to farms. If you're leading a group of people, expect mistakes, and mistakes are going to happen. But how you relate those mistakes to that person and what they get out of it, essentially what they learn from it, helps you be better. So, like a guy that's, say, on the feed truck and he runs through a door. And he's been out there working with you for many years. If you take that guy out and then you put a new guy in, expect about 3 more doors to get it. So I'd rather him learn from that one door. Yeah. And whether a charge make him pay for it, or however we come to a solution to move on from that problem, and the solution would be that he learned from it, then I'm good.
Yeah. So. And that all falls back into all of these things we've talked about with the way that, you have the mindset to address problems, deal with them with urgency, not let them fester, but then really build this culture that is values and principles based that's around that.
And again, we're not perfect. I mean, it's not like roses. We work on it, but we have our days, and I don't want to think we're all giving hugs and high fives every day, because it's not like that. But we try to give people the atmosphere, to feed the energy to come in positive, or we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we accomplished in a day.
Yeah. So. And you know what? That's because you lead by example, Scott.
Right.
That's because you're living it. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing the things that you're doing to build your own personal resistance and how that becomes part of the culture here at the dairy. And with these takeaways that, like I said, whether it's a manager like you or somebody like me that can take these little nuggets away and look at how can I make myself better as a leader, as an individual, as a parent, an employee, an employer, whatever the case may be. And these are the takeaways that I hope our listeners are walking away with from today as well. And as we wrap up these last few minutes here, it's time for the Up Level 5. And these are the 5 questions that I love to end our podcast with, because they're all about pushing that next level of performance and resilience. And so my first question for you, Scott, is, what does success look like to you? How do you define success?
Well, I think that you look at, you set your goals and how you get there and what goes on, why you're getting to that goal, and looking back and say, now we're here, how we got there, the people that were involved. And then I think that is graded on what success is to me from a performance standpoint.
Yeah. So looking at where you want to go and then taking those moments of reflection within how you want to get
right
there.
On. Yeah. And goals are always set. Once you reach those goals, it's time to set new ones. So.
Yeah. Constantly striving, right? And next question that I have for you in 3 words, how do you want to show up each day?
I want to show up. I want to be on top of my game, mentally, physically. I want to come across to people that we are happy to be here, and we're all about the family type setting at work, which it's still a business. Family's family. You can't. Your family's always going to be there, but business is business. And we like to say we are a second family because we spend so much time together. But I think that that's important. Having that crew of people, having that mentality, the personality to come across to lead those people every day, and not be coming in all doom and gloom, and not letting that reflect to the other people. So positive vibes. We want positive vibes, and I hope that I can deliver that to my people all the time, which that's not going to happen all the time.
But you try pretty darn hard every single day, don't you?
I try hard, yes.
Yeah. Who are 2 or 3 thought leaders that you follow?
So, obviously, all my life and every day, my mom and dad, I depend on them a lot to just questions about life and even people and things like that. They've been around a while, so they offer a good view of those things. The other today, I would say the 2 of the people that I work for is Mark and Dave Wiese. They've taught me a lot. They tamed a wild animal 15 years ago,
and you're still here.
And they how they do business from the integrity, respect that everyone has. I fed off of that, and they help me in a lot of ways. And I watch them how they articulate management of a very difficult group of people at times, and sometimes I didn't always understand, but I just would go back to that patience thing that I didn't have. But eventually I would see what the end game was, and it usually made sense.
And question number 4, what words do you live by?
Well, I think that we're going to go back to the work hard, stay true to yourself, stay grounded, which kind of goes with that same thing, and always keep that balance, that we talk about from personal to work, and stay healthy mentally and physically.
Yeah. And spiritually, right?
And spiritually, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And up-level question number 5, our last one. What is your next personal up-level? What's the area that in your life that you are taking to the next level right now?
That's a good question. I think it's just in general. It's probably a generic answer, but just better myself, better for my kids, for me, for employees, for the company. I think just working all around on everything to improve. And one thing I do is I'm very critical of my problems and what I have, and I try to not only do that, but I do that to myself so I can better it and improve that, and that's very important, I think.
Yeah, you're constantly striving, right?
Right.
Never stop.
Right.
Never stop. Wonderful. Well, Scott, thank you for sharing those insights with the Up Level 5.
Well, thank you for having me again. It was a lot of fun.
And this episode, again, is sponsored by Armor Animal Health, your trusted vet sales and laboratory partner, supplying you with core livestock products and solutions to help you reach your farm's goals. And in fact, just for listening to this podcast, your gift is a coupon code for $25 off a $150 order through Armor's online store. So you simply need to go to armoranimalhealth.com and type in the code ARMORSUPPORT. So this coupon is valid through December 16th and it's one-time use per customer. You can find those details in our show notes. And Scott, I know you're a big fan of Armor Animal Health around here. How does it help you with being a high-performing manager?
They've been with us a lot of years, and in the service and the support that they gave us through tough times. One of the few companies that stood tall with us when we had some challenging times. And they've, very easy to work with, and they're right there at the fingertips with service, and they've just been all around good for us here at Wiese Brothers.
Yeah, so good team of people, good products, good service.
Yes.
It's a win-win-win with you guys in your Armor Animal Health relationship.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us for the Up Level Dairy Podcast.